Hi guys, Asmo here, and today I have for you results of my tests of running 40 T9 villas with magic finding with like 90 quant, 170 rarity, something like that with this gear that I have here, running very low tier maps and trying to basically add minimum juice to them, just rolling these maps with either like twin boss or possessed boss, and then having torment scarabs, polished torment scarabs, then having rusted reliquary scarabs and a couple of fragments, just minimum investment. We invested, I think, a total 190 chaos into that, including rolling the maps and every single thing that can possibly go into this. We're not using any craft on the map device, so just like the bare minimum low tier strategy that you can farm with very cheap character. This character, I might make a video about this, how to put together a cheap magic finding character. If you're interested in that, that's gonna come in the next video. Also the explanation for the Fair Grace Tricorn, because it's a very interesting tech that you can use right now in this slot. But just to explain the test. So I ran 40 of these maps. The total time it took me to run these maps was like about 1 hour and 45 minutes. So with rolling the maps and everything and like buying the maps, if you need to buy the maps, it will be like 2 hours. So that's what I'm going to be counting it as. So 190 C investment, 2 hours, and I ran them basically fully clearing them, not interacting with league mechanics like Alpha, but I did like clear legions because legions are very easy to clear, and we're running 2 inspired learnings, so it just makes you faster. The clear was very fun. The playstyle is nice. It's definitely very fun, and despite the character having, like, you can see it as 1000 life, like unreserved life, but I died only like maybe 4 or 5 times in all of these 40 maps. So because the maps are so easy, it's such an entry level content that you're not really in that much of a danger. The most dangerous thing is like when the boss is possessed by like 3 ghosts and he's just one shots you with some crazy ability, but that's the only thing that basically can happen. I never had a map that I couldn't clear, so we cleared the maps, we cleared all the monsters in them, and here is basically a breakdown of the loot that we've got, right? So we've got a shit ton of uniques, so many uniques, right? The problem with this though is that most of these uniques are worth like 1 or 2 chaos, max 3. So 1, 2, or 3 chaos for most of these uniques. They're not really worth that much more. Of course, wait, this is okay, this is Tabula Rasa. Tabula Rasa is worth like now, right, 9 chaos. I checked some of the rolls. This is like worth like 20. This is worth like 15C. So some of these have slightly better rolls and they're worth a little bit more. But in general, they're not really worth picking up, identifying, and checking, because they're just gonna be worth like 1 to 3 chaos, right? So most of the time, that's what you're gonna get, right? There are some exceptions to this, right? Which like Tabula Rasa or something like Gold Rim, right? Which is worth like 5C, and if it's better rolled, then it's worth more, stuff like that. But in general, not really good in terms of the uniques, right? If you get something like Gold Worm and they roll something better on them, you're gonna have, of course, more currency from that, but this is a rare occurrence. So from what I checked, the fact that we get so many uniques is actually not giving us that much currency. Then we've got maps. These are maps that are below the tier of what we were running, so this is below tier 9, but here we've got all the tier 9 maps and tier 10 and tier 11 maps. So you would sustain the maps, you would get actually higher tiers of maps than you started with, so this depends probably on the Atlas passive skill tree. I have so much plus 2 levels, right? So I would probably be getting a lot more tier 9s instead of tier 10s if I didn't have that. But we sustained a bunch of these villas. You can horizon into villa. That's why this is such a good map to do this in. I did not price any of these jewels, but you can have like crit multi, attack speed with claws. This is actually a good jewel. So we got like double crit multi, attack speed with claws. This is like 35 chaos. So you might have a few jewels, but again, jewels in general are also another thing that is not really worth identifying. You might put them in a dump tab, just all identified, sell them, like price it at like 19 chaos or something, and you're gonna sell some of them. But again, this is something that requires extra time and extra identifying stuff. The unique maps are worth something. They're worth like few chaos each. And then we've got the raw currency that we dropped, plus a big drop that I got was Enlighten. Enlighten is worth like 2 and 2.1 divines, something like that right now, which was the biggest drop that we had. Other than that, we got only 30 raw chaos, which is like such a small amount. We got some coins, we got some other currencies, some essences and stuff like that. Looking at the excellence data, the excellence shows if I don't put the threshold, because I put like a price threshold of 3C here just before I refresh this, but then if I put the threshold of 3C, we made like 450C. If I don't put any threshold, it's like 1,000 chaos, right? So if you wanted to actually sell every single thing you drop, you'd be making like 1,000 chaos, but you'd be wasting your time probably. It's much better to just go like above a certain threshold, not sell every single unique item that you get, because you're just going to be wasting so much time doing that. So if I put it at a threshold of like minimum 3C and some stuff that you can sell in bulk and so on, this comes down to like 450C, which means the majority of the profit was basically the Enlighten that we dropped. One thing to note is that this method is very volatile. Before I did this test, the reason why I did this test is because, okay, I wanted to assemble magic finding character just to check it out, just to see how it works and how it feels to play this league. Before I did the test, the first Villa map I went into, I dropped the Sephiroth card from the boss, right? And then I did like 3-4 more maps, and then on the 5th map, the boss was duplicated and both bosses were possessed, and I dropped 2 Sephiroth cards, right? So I ran like 5 maps and I dropped 3 Sephiroth cards, and I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing. So then yesterday on stream, I was running some of these maps, and together I ran like maybe 30, and I made like maybe 5 divines or something like that in profit. I dropped a couple of raw divines plus the Sephiroth cards, and that was the profit. So then I decided, okay, I'm gonna like run like a specific proper test and just check how much I'm investing into these maps, how much I'm getting out of them. And unfortunately, we didn't get any Sephiroth cards, we didn't get any raw divine drops, but we did get the Enlightened support, right? So I would expect you're gonna be making anywhere between 1 to 3 divines per hour running this method, which means this method is very, very bad, right? It's vastly inferior to just relying on league mechanics, like for example heist, right? Like this would be such a big profit if I just run higher tier maps and just got these blueprints and these contracts, right? And just the maps as well. So it's much better to actually make a stronger character without any MF. Maybe add this tech, right? Add this flask. You can add a Surgeon's Gold Flask of the Order, so you can get a flask that has like it's base 30 rarity, crafted 30 rarity, and then you can have when you hit a rare or unique enemy if not already in effect, so it's automatically going to be proccing while you're hitting a rare, so that you can get some extra loot. This is a tech that you can use on pretty much any character, but overall I would not recommend running this. Actually, I would recommend just making a stronger character. MFing is probably going to be better if you're able to include if you're able to run like T14 maps at least, and able to include something like Expedition, able to run Legion, and then maybe a couple of other mechanics that you can actually use that would allow you to do them faster, get a lot of rares into them so that you can get some loot pinatas. I got 0 loot pinatas, 0 of these like possessed monsters by the gods. So that was actually very, very unlucky run. And we did make some currency, but it was like 2 divines, like one divine per hour. It's absolutely not worth running this strategy compared to running something like heist, at least for me, right? If you want to have fun, it's actually definitely a fun way of playing the game. You really feel like the KB blowing up everything. KB is such a fun build, running it with inspired learnings, but I'm thinking of maybe juicing some different character, maybe running like Self-Cursed Trickster with inspired learnings and Soul Thirst or something like that for like farming more juiced maps. I'm not sure, but this was a very fun experiment. Unfortunately, it's not that profitable, so I just wanted to let people know what is the state of MFing in the lower tier maps with like lower juice. So if you want to MF, you probably need a much stronger character and you want to go to higher tier maps and include more league mechanics and juice the map more. The minimum investment MFing like that is not really going to do much for you unless you win a lottery, but you cannot really count on that. I ran like 90 of these maps and I dropped in total, I guess if I were to do a total of like 90 maps, in 90 maps I dropped 3 Sephiroth cards, 2 raw divines, so that's like 5 divines, and then Enlighten, so that's 7 divines, right? And then so that's the profit of like maybe 10 divines or something like that. for running all of these maps. So it's a very volatile method as well, and you might run like 50 maps and not drop anything, and you might run 5 maps like me and drop 3 Sephiroth cards, right? So I just wanted to make that video so that everyone knows not to do that probably. Fairgrace Tricorn, on the other hand, a very fun item, probably gonna make a video about it, but that's it. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and see you next time.